Hey, what's up? What's going on out there? I was checking out this video about the US Army using experiments on US residents in St. Louis. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So I'm going to let the video play and leave my 1-2.
Now to a NewsNation exclusive investigation into a secret government experiment that was carried out in St. Louis. Residents tell us they still remember a mysterious fog. Children would run through it. Mothers would try and close their windows against it. For decades, they all had questions, and now we're seeking answers. The United States Army now admits that it sprayed a chemical that contained cadmium, a known carcinogen, on a neighborhood of more than 10,000 people. Critics say this was done with no warning and no consent. Well, tonight we return to the site of that demolished neighborhood and speak with former residents who believe the government turned them into human test subjects. Although the Army admits that the test happened, it is not admitted to harming the residents.
That's the craziest. That's like the craziest part. If it came on, the Army says that we did something to the residents. We sprayed some type of chemicals, but it didn't do anything to the residents. Like that's the most asinine thing, one of the most asinine things I've ever heard. Like we know something is potentially dangerous. We put it in the neighborhood, but it's not dangerous at the same time. I don't know how that makes any damn sense at all. Like the army knew what the hell they were doing, and anybody that's familiar with the Cold War out there knows that the army was trying stuff on their residents. Well, the U.S. government, for that matter, has been, doing certain things, certain tests in certain areas, in all types of different places in the U.S. to see what effects it will have if it was some type of uh, biological or nuclear fallout or something like that. They've been running these tests probably going back to World War I. Really, when I would say when the I would say like more when the modern warfare came into play, like with the viruses and the gases spreading, those type of war games. But yeah, this was just a crazy piece to me.
News Nation's Natasha Zubez investigates what was in the fog and why the truth may still be buried.
The fog drifted through the streets like a ghost.
That's exactly what it looked like, a thick fog. It was summertime and it was hot. We would just run through it as fast as we could and then try to just cool ourselves off. It stuck to you.
The spray was so foul as far as the odor. It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
That's what I remember. It made me sick.
It wasn't the weather.
You could tell he ain't give a damn. He didn't forget. But them spraying them type of chemicals, that modern warfare type of stuff, and those biohazard, type things, like for them to say that it had no effect on these people is it's just like I don't know, like it sounds like if you told me this was in North Korea, I'd be like, all right, I believe you, or if this was in Russia, I believe you. But the U.S. has done a piss poor job in trying to cover its tracks and try to act like it's the prime leader in the world as far as decency and humanity, when that's not the case. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't poison or put certain things in neighborhoods that can have adverse effects on its residents.
Eerie smoke descending from rooftops, rolling from the backs of trucks.
Regular flatbed truck, but it had a big machine on the back, and it had a big nozzle that really sprayed up fog you couldn't even see through. It was that thick, and it really we felt it as it would adhere to our skin. And as far as the guys on top of the buildings, they tried to portray them to us as maintenance workers. But we was like, what is a maintenance worker doing? And they basically a hazmat suit, and they had masks and goggles.
In the 1950s and 60s, in secret, the U.S. Army sprayed zinc cadmium sulfide into the air of a St. Louis housing project, a largely black neighborhood called Pruitt-Igoe.
It was a lose-lose situation for us in Pruitt-Igoe. We were subjects. They didn't ask for our permission.
We didn't ask for them to spray us. My government used me like I was a guinea pig.
Well, that's the end of the video or the segment I wanted to cover. And if anybody wants to, check it out, it's out there. But basically what that brother said was correct. They used him without his permission. Now, you mean to tell me the government, with all this money that they have and these resources for certain exercises against chemical warfare and things like that, they couldn't have set up some type of facility to try this on people that had knowledge of it and just pay people for that? No, because they wanted to do it on a mass scale, and they knew, knocking off some so-called black people wouldn't matter anyway, especially back then, because nobody was probably really going to say anything, and they can see how they can test it on a large scale without having to pay anybody or telling them the truth. And that's the truth of the matter. And it's really sad. And I really hope these people get their just due. And, as many others out there who have like gone through some type of government testing without their knowledge or without their say so. But I really hope they get, some type of civil suit. Maybe it might happen, maybe not. I don't know. But based on what I've heard, in the interview, I don't think the government or the army is going to budge. They're going to just pull some plausible deniability crap. But it's just sad. With the government, what people think the government is supposed to be looking out for you is really, really not. And like I said, the U.S. tries to pose itself as some type of beacon of light and hope and decency, and don't pull any like trickery, or we'll absolve from any wrongdoing, or we can't do anything wrong, especially when they talk about other nations out there. Like, that is the bright light of hope. And again, when we don't practice any depravity, this proves on the contrary. Like, this, it smacks the government right in the face, and it shows the residents, U.S. residents, like, look, the government poisoned us on purpose. So anyways, that's my 1-2. Leave your commentary. Let me know what you think.